All right, we are ready to go here. Mr. Gregory, you are up first.
Thank you, thank you. So my report back from my first official talk at City Club Los Angeles, I had a full house, actually an overflow. We're only allowed 15, I had 16. So one overflow counts, right?
Awesome. Yeah, that's
And,
terrific.
I had to employ James Valenchek's uh, what do you emergency speaker rules. You get up, you find out that your time's been cut. What do you do? Well, I immediately know how to cut out a couple of cars along my train, got the engine going, got into it, and got out of it, and got out on time. What happened was, usually the club does not schedule anything behind uh, in the screening room. You usually do not get back-to-back bookings very often. What happened was, it was Academy Award week, and people were showing off Academy Award movies at the 7:30. So I get in there at 6 o'clock to go on at 6:30, and they said, "You got the cut by 7:30." And I said, "Okay," and I did it. I got done at 7:30, and the group that came in behind me was very appreciative. I got some good kudos for that. And the guy he's also the chairman of the entertainment committee, which I'm on, and him and I are building a nice, good relationship as him being a major producer in um, VR and what else? Oh, holograms. He is on the forefront of the cutting edge of hologram productions, which we'll see how that's going to work. But the bottom line is that was my kudos. It was good, and I learned from it that all this pushing that people have been going about me about being a options trader coach actually might have some traction. I'm having a family get together tomorrow. A lot of my family members showed up, which was kind of cool. And tomorrow we're having a launch dinner of my first online options class that will start on Sundays at 7 p.m. by invitation only, because it is my first one, and I'm going to see how it's going to work out. And I want to thank you for your big support behind me. I super appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So in your promo, you're going to start doing these things on Sundays. Are they going to be paid or free?
This has to be done by groups, because it's a full sequence where we go. In other words, there's an A to Z thing that has to be done, so it can't be done. We can't have newcomers jumping in the middle of the sequence.
Got
So
it.
the first group is free, and it's mostly family. In fact, I think it is all family. It's all family but one person. Yeah, it's all family but one person. And so they're like a little bit, and I've already told them they're my test group. And they know it.
Here's something that you want to do
Yes, sir.
is when you've got a program where people can't jump in as it's going along,
Right.
what you want to do, you always want to have the ability for someone to be able to join your program. So if you say, well, it's running right now and you can't get in, and you can't get in for like 2 months or 3 months or 6 months or whatever it is, chances of losing them are astronomical, because everybody wants things when they want them, which is usually now. So what you want to do, let's say you've got, I don't know how long it is, but let's just say, for instance, it might be 8 weeks. So you're going to do this thing for 8 weeks in a row. What you want to do is record each week, and then have an evergreen where if someone new comes in, say, oh yeah, we can pop you into the pre-recorded program right now, and you can either catch up or you can just go at your own pace.
Oh.
That's a really, really good way to go. And that way you can promote all the way along. Because another thing about the promotion, something that could get people really excited, is when you're speaking about where you are in the program. Like you can say, yeah, this week we talked about so-and-so, and next week coming up is going to be really cool. That would give them a huge incentive to jump in and get caught up so they could take advantage of that. That might be something you want to think about. So put together, any way you can to record it, even if you just use Zoom.
I am Zooming. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I'm Zooming Zoom.
Oh, awesome. Well, yeah, make sure you record every session.
So I hit that little button that says record.
Yep. And just make those recordings, that could actually become your course. And then what you can do, you can let that run live, and then you can do, or actually you can let that run recorded, and then you can do like live events to do Q&As and things with them.
Okay.
So that, you could build a pretty decent little program out of that.
Okay.
Instead of doing this as a beta, as a test, you can always go back and sharpen it up. But you'll never get that opportunity again to lay it down and just get it going. That's the biggest thing. Because, overwhelm is what keeps a lot of people from doing anything. They can do the little micro steps like what you're doing, but then at the end, then they have to go back and start over. And sometimes it's just like it kills them. And when you have it pre-recorded all the way through, you've already done it. It's like, I cannot tell you how cool it is for me to be able to put people into any one of my programs because I've already done the work.
Well, what's really cool is you just stated, and by having production background, I have an outline of how I'm going to work it. And when I go into my thing on Sunday, just remind myself to take at least a 5 or 10 second pause. So therefore, editing, I can cut out the section that is the evergreen part. So, so when I go into like the first Sunday, the introduction to charts. How do you set your charts up? Where's the website? This is the website. This is what you click on. Here's how you register. Here's you get in, and this is what you're going to do. And that stop. Now, adding the price channel. Go to that explanation. Stop. Pause. Now, adding the 3-to-1 ratio ruler. Set up. Pause. Done. Pause. Done. So yeah, I can see how, exactly. And then all the other side conversations and whatever, as long as I maintain a pause barrier between point to point, then I can cut out all that and just keep the essence of the entire main material.
Yeah. And this is another thing from like a learning and teaching perspective. What I learned by creating the ACT program, I had been doing these trainings for a long time, on SEO. But when I went to put the ACT program together, we put a beta group together that had a lot more experience of teachers and, people that had more teaching experience than I did. And they said, well, you need like a curriculum here. You need this, you need that. And I'm thinking, wow, I've never needed any of that before, but, okay. And it really does make a big difference when you put the outline and the structure together. Every time you do a lesson, what you want to start off with is reasons for them to go through the entire lesson. So basically up front, you say, okay, here's what we're going to do today. Here's the things that we're going to learn, or here's the things that you're going to learn, and tie it to what it's going to do for them. Just like the marketing, every piece of content that you make should be focused on your marketing. And your marketing should be based on what your customer or your client desires. So whatever you're going to teach them, make sure you connect it to their outcome. They will love it. They will consume it. They will learn it because of that, because it's going to get them what they want. A huge, huge difference in teaching where you're just going on, you're just teaching point after point after point, but you're not connecting it to their outcome. So you want to talk about that right up front. You say, here's what we're going to cover. Here's why you need to learn it. Here's what you're going to get out of it. And then they'll stay. They'll actually do it. They'll absorb it because it's important. You've now taken, a training. Nobody likes training. Nobody really likes to work. They see that as like work and school and homework and things that traditionally just aren't fun. But when you connect it to their outcome, they see the point of it. And thinking back, like, when I was going through school, when I was growing up, I hated school. It was not my thing. I did not like that structure. That's why I'm like the ultimate entrepreneur. I don't fit inside a box. But I had a couple of really good teachers, and what they taught me was they taught me the outcome of what I was learning and how I was going to use that later in life. And that was important to me because they specifically tied it to my freedom. You know, like for an example of that was I loved all the shop classes. I loved to build things. I loved to work with my hands. I was very creative. And woodworking, I did a lot of woodworking growing up in high school. And, you know, I wanted to take additional woodshop classes. And my woodshop teacher, he sat me aside, he pulled me aside and he said, look, he said, you know, you need English and you need math and you need all this stuff. And I'm like, no, I don't. I said, I just want to build stuff. I want to make really cool stuff, and I'll make a lot of money doing it because I'm good at it. And he said, well, that's great, and some of that's true. He said, you might make a lot of money at it, but he said, to do that, you're going to have to be able to write a proposal, and it's going to have to be readable, and it's going to have to make sense, or they're not going to hire you because they're going to think you're an idiot. And I'm like, whoa. I instantly saw the importance of writing. And then he said, and what about math? He said, let me paint this scenario for you. You want to make a lot of money, right? And obviously I did. That was very important to me. And he said, well, if you don't know how to quote and bid your jobs, he said, you could easily wind up working for nothing. And I'm like, oh, that's not for me. So math at that point had never meant a hill of beans to me. But all of a sudden now, it was incredibly important. So by tying the outcome to what the learning is, you know, I learned that back in high school from that teacher. And, you know, math and writing and all that stuff, I'm really good at now. Even though you know, school was not my thing and I couldn't have cared less about being there. But because of that, because of the way he positioned that, of how important it was and what it would do for me in my future, I actually got it. So if you want your students to really get it and really become who they can be because of your teaching, position it that way and you'll really help them. You'll really benefit them. And, you know, and like I said, everything is marketing. Every piece of content that you'll ever make, if it's not tied back to your marketing, you're kind of wasting, you're kind of spinning your wheels. So when you're doing a training, you're not just training on the piece that you're teaching right now. You're tying it to the benefit, which it makes you valuable. You're also connecting it to the next step, which keeps them coming back. You can also, when you're teaching in a current program, you can always allude to the bigger package, the thing that's next that you're going to want to sell them, because you can start creating demand and desire for it now. You know, Russ is a perfect example. He's on the call right now. He said, wow, he goes, I hear you talking about, you know, your apprentice program. What's that all about? I'm interested in that. And it's because I talk about it here. I say, like, you know, in the next call coming up, that's going to be for the apprentices, and we're going to be covering this, this, and this. That is part of the marketing. I do a lot of this kind of naturally, which you'll see, you know, a lot of marketers do a lot of things naturally, and that's why it's so hard to replicate their efforts, or replicate their outcome rather. But it is all strategic, and that's really what the ACT program is all about. It's teaching the strategy and the psychology of marketing and your buyers. If you understand what they want and you put them into the first piece of the program, and then you allude to the next things that they're going to want, then that automatically, each step of the way, it's going to create demand and desire for whatever you're doing next. So that's increasing your lifetime customer value. And that's really important. I see so many people that they've got one thing and then there's nothing after that. And, you know, the lifetime value of the customer is just that one sale. And that's a tragedy, because the most expensive sale you're going to make, the one that's going to cost you the most, is the one in the beginning to acquire a customer. So that's where all of your cost is. Your profit comes in after the fact. The profit comes in the second thing they buy, the third thing they buy. The more things that they buy, the more profitable you become. So if you want a business that is really leveraged to profit, you have to have lifetime value of your customers. And in the delivery of your product, you create the demand and the desire for the next purchase. So really, really important. That's a really important distinction. And that's why a lot of people fail, because they can't afford to profit on the client acquisition, because what they're selling, there's not enough profit in it after you buy the traffic. That's where companies that are really killing it, like Agora Publishing, they're close to $1 billion company. They sell information online. They can afford to spend 2 or 3 times as much to acquire a customer as anyone else, because they know 6 months from now that customer is going to become profitable, and they're going to be profitable for 18 more months. So it's crazy how they do that. So that's what you want to focus on, is lifetime customer value. Even if it's not your own. Like, let's say you only provide one thing and that's really all you know how to do, and you don't want to do anything else. That's perfectly fine. All you have to do is connect affiliate offers to your back end. But you've got to have a back end. It's really important to have a back end on whatever you're doing. I don't care what business you're in. The customer experience doesn't stop with the first sale. It goes instantly into delivery. It's fulfillment of whatever it is they purchased, and that fulfillment should also be marketing. It should be marketing the next step. You know, if you have affiliates that provide things after, like after your service is done, or even in the process of your service, and there's affiliates that can offer things that will enhance your product, will enhance the user's experience, will enhance their future, you just make those connections and you make the affiliate money. You know, they call that mailbox money, and it's really, really cool. I have a lot of sources where I get mailbox money from things that I recommend and I refer. And one thing about me is I always make sure that if I'm going to make a recommendation and a referral, it's something that I actually use and it benefits me in what I'm doing and what I'm teaching. Like, I use a perfect example is SEMrush. When I teach SEO, I teach SEMrush because it's a tool that I use on a daily basis for SEO. When I teach the ACT program, I also teach SEMrush because it's a tool that is used on a daily basis for research. And that's the first piece of ACT, is the analysis part. Without tools, it's impossible to do it correctly. And if you could, it would take you forever. So it's a really valuable tool that will get you what you need very quickly. And again, every month, you know, I open the mailbox and there's a check from SEMrush from all the people that had purchased it because they learned it from me. So anything like that, there's hundreds of different things that you can add on that will be valuable that you don't have to provide, you don't have to fulfill. You just make that connection and make that mailbox money. You know, at some point you could make more mailbox money than you make on your original product. You know, I've used the example of the maternity dresses, and that's the case there. The maternity dress became a giveaway. You know, it became a loss leader. She didn't have to make money on the dress itself. She made plenty of money on the next 18 years of the sales cycle. So really cool stuff. So anyway, back to you guys. What's important? Anybody got anything you want to throw out? Gregory, any follow-up to any of that? I know I went way deeper probably than you asked for.
No, I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did, because the point was I wasn't seeing my next step, because I see myself as an options trader. That's where I'm going to be at.
Yeah.
Being the options coach and having this option courses, I only saw getting my family on the path of financial independence. That's how I sell it to them.
Yeah.
I sell it to them at financial independence. My nephew struggles working 2 jobs, and his wife is working. There's 3 jobs in the household to take care of my 2 nephews growing up who are beautiful children. My daughter, I just talked to her, a girl with 3 college degrees and tons of other stuff under her belt, and she's only making $27,000 a year. And I'm going like, why? You went to option school. Now she's Saturday. It took me 2 years to break down her defense, saying, I went to school, but I really want to focus here. But you're not making any money.
Well, a cool point to that, a kind of a formula to figure out what's next is the timeline. You know, I teach the timeline in the analysis piece to see where your prospect is right now and where your product is going to take them. What happens when they get to the end of the timeline doesn't just disappear and vanish. All it does is it just starts over. They're at a new point now. They have a brand new timeline. So what are they going to want next? You know, when they get the options trading and they're successful and they're making a ton of money, they're in a completely different place than when they started. Their timeline is completely different. And you don't have to be the one that provides what they need next. You just have to identify it and make the connection. So when they make all this money, you know, what are they going to want to do? They might want to invest in real estate. They might want to vacation. They might want to set up a college fund. You know, there's all kinds of things that they might want to do, and you can just find those providers and make yourself some mailbox money. Really, really cool things. And the formula to that is always going to be the timeline. So look at the timeline. When you deliver and they're at a new place in the timeline, what's that look like for them? And you can go back to the ACT part, the analysis part in ACT, and look at, you know, when they're on the timeline here, what are they hearing? What are they seeing? What are they feeling? And where do they want to go? What is driving them now? And now you have a new timeline. So really, really cool. The cycle goes on. You know, the cycle of the timeline only ends when they end. You know, that's basically funeral arrangements. You know, so however long they live, that's your time to sell to them. You just have to figure out what they need. They're always going to need something, and if you're the provider of what they need, you're going to make a commission on it. So salespeople, you know, they say salespeople are the highest paid, it's the highest paid profession in the world. So you can get in there and get your little sliver of that. So how much are they going to spend on you name it over the rest of their life? If you could get in there and get 5 or 10% of that, that would be pretty cool, right? That could really change your life. Especially if you had thousands of people following you, getting, you know, just even 1% of their future purchases. That's what we're talking about. That's where you can really amass some wealth and have lifetime customer value. All right, so who's up next? Mary Sue, go ahead.
Hey, so I missed the first few minutes, so I'm not real sure what Gregory's doing, but the thing that occurred to me in just listening to him talk about his own family members that didn't have enough money is, good grief, he's defined his audience and opened this to other people in a remarkable way. I mean, that, talk about a launch with defined success. I think that is really exciting, that if he wanted to, you know, to teach people how to do that and teach people that had nothing and they really wanted to get going with it, his position is, I can help you do it. And he's got people that are absolutely going to give him remarkable testimonies.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we all have the same opportunities. You know, I mean, think about what you do, how many people it helps for everybody. You know, that's what it's all about. How many people do you know? Like, you know, for me, when I was doing SEO and I started teaching SEO, I realized, hey, well, the next step for people that want to learn SEO is they might want to do SEO as an actual business. So I created a reseller program where I actually taught them how to run an SEO business. And now instead of just doing SEO for themselves, they turn it into a moneymaker.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's all kinds of different things. When you look at what you do and how far it could reach and how many people it could help, it's really cool. It's
Yeah,
really
well,
cool.
I'm excited for him because I think that it's got huge potential. you
Yeah.
know. So good job.
Yeah, absolutely. Good deal there, Gregory. Great for getting out there. But do keep in mind, I know a lot of people start stuff and they get really excited, but in that excitement, they lose track of the business plan. So make sure that whenever you're doing it, like I said, you're laying it down, you're recording it, you're setting it up to sell in the future, and don't be afraid to sell it now. You know, just because the people that are running through are just family members and friends, don't be afraid to sell it right now and get real people in there with them. Don't ever think that you have to like have something perfect before it goes up for sale. I mean, the ACT program is not perfect. It never was, and it probably never will be perfect. But the thing is, everyone that gets in, we're all growing together. We're all making it better every step of the way. Like every time I do these calls and every time I listen to you guys, I learn more. I learn more about what you need. I learn more about the program itself. So don't ever think that you've got to wait to sell something. The more people that you get in, the faster you'll learn and the faster it will get better. So
And I really think that better to do that in the beginning, because really all you're doing is inviting other people to come and join us while I teach my own family. You know, it's a different perspective, and it gets people in there, and it will take its own momentum. You know, it reminds me of, I've forgotten the guy's name, but Bill Gates eventually took it over. So the guy was just teaching his nephew calculus or something. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, I'm not familiar with that story, but
I've forgotten his name, but all he really was doing was just teaching his nephew. I think it was calculus, and so
okay.
you know, other kids started coming in and saying, "Geez, me too. I can't do this stuff, right?" And eventually, Bill Gates heard about it, and because it had grown so big, and now he's part of that community. And I get emails from him all the time because of, because that's where he started and that's what he was. It really just started helping people, right? And
Yeah.
This has that same flavor to it. Is just let me help you get on your feet again. You know.
Exactly. I mean, that's where we learn. The more people that you work with and the more people that you help, the more you will learn what they want and what they need. You know, like when in the process of creating the ACT program, I actually started teaching it as an SEO method because RankBrain had come in and SEO had switched to user experience. And as you guys know, ACT is all about user experience. But prior to that, SEO was not based on user experience. It was based on getting the your search results to the top to get people onto your site. Even if you had a crappy site, just by virtue of the numbers, you would sell enough stuff. And when Google cut that out, I'm like, well, we actually need to make a positive user experience here. So that's where the beginning creation of ACT started. And then I realized, wow, this is really the answer to almost every failing business. Is when I started looking at the pieces, I'm like, wow, this is the reason businesses fail. They don't have these things in order. They don't know, they haven't segmented their market. They don't know who they're selling to. And how could they possibly create a message that's going to compel anyone if they don't know who they're selling to or who they're talking to? So the more I taught it, the more I learned. And the more I actually learned about what you guys need to know to actually be able to do it. Because as a concept, it's really easy for me to throw the concept out of how this all works. But when I actually started teaching it and realized, hey, nobody's getting it, nobody's actually doing it, and then I started talking to everybody, and I realized there's a lot more to it. There's a lot more things that they needed to know to actually accomplish it. So, the more you work with them and the more you try and help them, the better you will become as a teacher, and the better your program will become to your customers and your students. So that's what it's all about. I see a lot of people that they whip programs together just to blow it out for the next launch, and then they forget about it. And that's why most of those programs are junk. They haven't been flushed out. It was just something somebody threw against the wall to make a quick buck, and now they're on to the next thing. So, if you want to really provide true value to the world and to your customers, you need to get in it. You need to get your hands dirty. You need to get in and really work on fulfillment, figure out what do they really need to get what they want. Because they came to me, tell yourself they're coming to me for something. They're putting their trust in me to get that, to help them get that. They're paying me for assistance. So if you don't provide it, if they don't get the result, then you've kind of failed. Yeah, you might have made money, but you failed at the at the goal. The goal is to get them to get the result and bring their friends back, and refer you, and become the master of that arena, whatever that might be. So, all right, who's up next? All right, somebody's got to have something out there. Russ, go ahead.
How we're progressing with our linking packages.
Linking packages are coming along. I got to tell you though, as far as like when you look at linking packages and what's involved in them, there's a lot of different types of linking that you can do. There's social linking, which is easy and inexpensive. It's cheap to do, but the results aren't that great. They will get you only so far. You've got to really get, if you have keywords, let's say you've got keywords that are more competitive, and you've got to really get some horsepower into it. That's a different story. You're going to have links that actually carry some juice through, and they're going to have to be relevant content on both sides. That's where the outreach programs come in. And outreach programs can be fairly expensive, but they're really, really effective. We've been doing these for a lot of our upper tier clients, and we'll do a base program. We do a base program that has a lot of the lower quality links, the social links, and the tiered link building, the Web 2.0 properties, all that stuff. It's the same stuff that everyone else uses. And when we come in over the top of that, we layer those high quality links in, sometimes we're only putting 1 to 2 links per month. But just with that, it's increasing the value of their overall SEO campaigns astronomically. And it might cost, those links might cost a couple $100 a piece. So it's like, it's no longer about quantity, it's about quality. You're better off to pay a couple $100 for a single link that's high quality than pay, $50 and get 500 links that do nothing. So that's kind of where it's at on a lot of those packages. On linking packages, I really base it on a budget, because depending on how authoritative the links are, there's some links we might pay several, even up to $400 or $500 per link. There's super high authority links that, you know, I've got some customers that have paid up to $1,200 for a single link on like Forbes site. So they're really kind of all over the board. So what we usually do with those is we'll get a budget together for link building. We usually put a budget together for standard SEO, which includes on-page, off-page. It gets all the, you know, all the social signals coming in, all that stuff. Those type of programs typically are, you know, $500 to $1,000 a month for most local businesses because there's so much stuff. And believe it or not, national businesses for the baseline stuff is less expensive. You know, a lot of people think, you know, they see charges for national companies. There's less SEO involved in a national SEO program than there is in a lot of local businesses. And when you think about it, like a lot of the manufacturers I work with, their keywords are unique, they're specific, and there's not a lot of competition for them. So in some cases, national keywords are easier to get than a lot of local keywords. Because I mean, if you look at your community, how many dentists are there? You know, how many doctors are there? How many dry cleaners are there? There's a bunch. They're all competing. You know, how many plumbers are in your neighborhood? You know, there's probably 10 of them just in your neighborhood. And then there's others on the outsides that are encroaching that want that business. So the localized, you know, packages probably plan on budgeting anywhere from $500 to $1,000 on organic SEO. And then, like, we're working with an auto repair shop right now that's local in our neighborhood, and they're spending about $2,000 a month on their pay-per-click, and that's like a $1,500 ad spend and a $500 management fee. And then they're spending $500 on the baseline SEO program, and they're spending another $250 on link building. And they're really effective, and they're in a very, very competitive deal. So plan on spending money on pay-per-click as well, because pay-per-click will actually help your organic results. Believe it or not, that is a major signal now, not because it's Google. You know, a lot of people, they were thinking that Google gives them priority because they're paying for the ads. That's not the case. What they're getting is they're getting a better quality user experience. Because when somebody clicks on the ad and they go to a landing page, generally, if the person doing the pay-per-click is any good at what they're doing, they'll be sending traffic to specific landing pages. So AKA a very high user experience, high quality. So that shows up in the organic SEO, and it drives the organic SEO up. So, you know, think about that. SEO is kind of an all-encompassing thing now. It's not just go tweak some code here or there, or, you know, go buy Fiverr links. Those days are long gone. It's got to be a, you know, a strategic campaign that makes sense for your business. If you're not driving other traffic, you know, if you're just sitting back hoping for the best with SEO, Google sees that. They know that. They know you're not getting traffic from anybody else. So what their thought is, you know, in the back of their mind, and I know this isn't really, you know, someone doing this or saying this, but their algorithm is based on this concept of, if no one else out in the world cares enough to send you traffic, why should we? If everyone else is sending you traffic, then we want to too, because you must be good. So those are kind of the basic underlying principles of SEO these days. That's where the high quality links come in. If you get a high quality link on a site that actually has relevant traffic, and they rank for keywords that you are, you know, it's in your niche, they're relevant, they're LSI keywords, and that link comes across and people actually follow that link, that's like gold. That is absolute SEO gold. So how much is it worth? It's worth a bunch because it actually works. You know, there's a lot of programs out there, a lot of people still teaching all the old junk, all the old SEO garbage that really doesn't work. So anyway, that's kind of, as far as like link building packages, we're mostly doing custom stuff. We've got some basic packages on our site that are, pretty detail outlined with what's in them and what we're doing. Some people that have been around for a long time and they've already got all that baseline infrastructure, they could just do, a link building campaign on top just to build high quality links, whether it be 1, 2, 3 links a month. You might do, they call them DA, which is domain authority, and it starts with DA 10 and less. And just because it's a 10 and less, that means there's a lot of those. But just because it's a 10 and less doesn't mean it's not a very high quality, high impact link. As long as it's on a site that's relevant to your keywords and it has traffic on it, that's a good link that will do, it's like magic. There's DA 20 to 30s. They're obviously much more expensive. There's 30 to 40s. And again, the higher the domain authority, the higher the cost of the link building program. Because as you go up the ladder, there's less and less of those link building opportunities. Like, to give you an idea, when we're doing an outreach program for link building, we might be actually 1 to 2 months behind. They'll pay for the first month. We do the work. We're sending out the notices. We're trying to get link building opportunities. It might be 2 or 3 months before that link actually goes live, before we actually get it in place. So it's a long, drawn out process. When you're doing this type of link building with outreach campaigns, there's not like, the links are not a dime a dozen. It's not like just going out to all these Web 2.0 sites and signing up and putting up a page that no one's ever going to see or go to, and then putting a link to your site from it. That's the old style link building. You can do a lot of that stuff on the outside, like on the multiple tiers out, and it's still okay. It still works all right. But if you don't have those high quality, high domain authority links directly into your site, then you're kind of on a plateau as far as how you're going to go organically. The only thing, if you don't want to spend the money on link building, then my second best suggestion would be to spend the money on creating high quality landing pages and doing pay-per-click, very specific to those targeted landing pages. And regardless of what you do, you guys, every one of you should be retargeting. And it's easy to do. You can go to AdRoll, set up a free account, get your pixel code, and just put it on every page. Whether you're buying the retargeting ads or not, build the audience. Start building your audience now. So,
how does AdRoll work differently than Google retargeting?
well, what AdRoll is, Google is just specifically in the Google network. They have their own network, and it's specific to that. With AdRoll, they use the Google network, but they also use, I don't know how many other networks, but there's a whole bunch of them. So it gives you a much broader scope. The other thing that I love about the retargeting pixel from AdRoll is it's so easy to create custom audiences. It's so easy to segment the audiences inside their dashboard. The other thing that's really cool is it will actually give you the data on when people come to your site and that pixel fires, those people get followed around, and it can tell you what other sites they go to. So if you go into your analytics in AdRoll, you could take a look in there and you say, hey, a good portion of my people that are on my site are also landing on this other industry site. Or maybe it's not even an industry site. Maybe it's a site that just generally people are interested in, that are interested in your stuff. So it gives you an idea of where to go and buy a display ad. Instead of doing retargeting ads, if you know, hey, 20% of my people are landing on, let's say, the National Hot Rod Association site, if you go and you put your ad there and you just go to them directly and say, hey, could I buy a static banner ad on your site or on these particular pages that my customers seem to like, now everybody that goes to that page, whether they've been to your site or not, are going to see the ad. And if you know 20% of your people are interested in that page, you know that there's probably a pretty good chance there's a whole bunch of people outside of your marketing realm that would now be exposed to you and be able to come across and learn about what you've got. So it's a really, really good marketing opportunity to have that data, you know, have those analytics behind the scenes. And I don't think Google gives you that because they want to keep you on their network. You know, they're very Google-centric focused. So
John, as we begin to redo our website, what I need is something like a step-by-step procedure that says, okay, when you're getting ready to do SEO, when you're getting ready to take advantage of the ad roll in the Steelhouse, and you're getting all this stuff together, these are the things that you need to do to begin to have the kind of site that all of these things want to link to.
Okay.
How do we, is there something that I missed like in the program that says, these are the things you didn't do and you better get your act together and get those done, because when you get that done, these different people are going to say, I really want to link to them.
Sure. Well, here's the biggest thing. The biggest thing is really to take a notice of your business and know what your customers want, and then create content based around that. You know, a lot of people in SEO, they would go and they would do keyword research and they would figure out, you know, what are the hot keywords, and then they would build stuff around that, but it wouldn't make a lot of sense to their real business, and it wound up being more of a bait and switch. So if you look at your ideal customers, if you segment, your segmentation should match your navigation. So like what I say is stop building your sites until you figure out who you're serving and what you're doing. You know, if you've got like 3 or 4 different segments, then those should be the major sections of your site, and your home page should allow them to self-select who they are and what they're interested in. Like if you were selling car parts, you would want to have, you know, say the top 3 manufacturers right there to self-select. You know, I'm a Ford guy, or I'm a Dodge guy, or I'm a Chevy guy. And then when they click that, it goes into this section and it only talks about Chevy. You know, again, totally back to the ACT avatar. What's important to them? And then understanding your customer. In the Chevy parts, what is important about those parts? Is it better performance? Is it better fuel economy? Is it better stature? Are you getting it, you know, because all your friends have it? What is it that's important to them? Again, what's that avatar hearing, seeing, and feeling? What's their timeline? What's their desired outcome? When you figure that out amongst your customers, then your website becomes a no-brainer, because all you have to do is just build them the perfect happy place. That's the kind of place that people will want to link to.
So at what point do I say, okay, now I'm ready for an SEO package?
Basically, when you have your site where it is going to convert. You know, SEO is any kind of traffic, whether it be pay-per-click or SEO or anything. If you drop people on there and there's no clear path for them to buy, there's no marketing message in place to tell them what they're going to get, why they would want it, then you're not there yet. You're not ready for anything. That's what I would basically tell someone. Like a lot of times, not a lot of times, every time when somebody comes to me and they want to buy an SEO package, the first thing I do is I look at their site. And if I know their site doesn't have any chance of conversion, then I just won't take them on as a customer. I say, you've got to get your house in order before you can scale it. Because here's the thing about traffic, and I don't care what kind of traffic it is. I don't care if it's YouTube video traffic, SEO organic traffic, pay-per-click traffic, retargeted traffic. It doesn't matter. All traffic is a magnifier. It's going to magnify whatever is there. So if you've got a converting site, it's going to magnify that. If you have problems, it's going to magnify that. So let's say you've got a site, like I had a guy that had it was some kind of a welding tool, and he was getting a bunch of people that were asking questions, and basically his site didn't address any of the questions. So what happened was they would all go to the site. I optimized the site and I was driving a ton of traffic to it. His phone was ringing off the hook because people had questions that were not answered on the site. The site just opened up a whole can of worms of all these questions. So he spent all day, every day, on the phone answering questions. And he was really irritated by that because he wasn't selling anything. And, I went back and I said, well, how about we take all those questions? How many questions really are there? And he said, well, it's the same 3 questions everybody's asking. I said, well, how about we just put them on the site? Let's see what that does for you. And then I put them on the site for him, and then he called the next week and he was all bent out of shape. He's like, you know what, whatever you did didn't work. Nobody's calling me now. I'm like, really? And I'm like, well, are they buying the product? And he's like, well, yeah, they are buying the product, but nobody's calling me. I'm like, okay, so you've got to understand what you want the site to do, and then it should do that. Get the site to do, but always focus on the sale. Always focus on connecting your customer with the outcome of the product. That's what's going to create the demand and desire. And really, I keep coming back to this. All roads lead back to this. It's what the customer wants. It's what are they hearing, seeing, and feeling, and where are they on the timeline? Where do they want to be? If you can connect yourself or your service to that outcome, you're going to do business. It really is that simple. Connect yourself, be the conduit to get them where they want to go, and make it easy, and actually tell them what to do. And you become that conduit, and you're going to increase your business dramatically by doing that.
So one of the things I bought a few years ago, and we've never gotten it on the site, is something called Survey Funnel. Are you familiar with that? Okay.
Yeah.
So what it actually does is allows people to simply say what their symptoms are, right? This is what I look like, and you have a choice of the different things. And what the goal was is to help them find the ideal product for them, right? And in doing so, I guess they're going to self-select in certain ways. But my goal was to just when we've got the guides, which need to be simplified, but my feeling is if it's just a simple way for them to say, this is how I feel, and this is what's happening, and just help me find. I don't want to talk to anybody right now, but I want to find the right product for me.
Sure.
Right?
Sure. That is such a perfect example of what happens in the real world. Think about what happens when you walk into a store. You're met by a salesperson and he starts asking you, what are you experiencing? How can I help? What do you need? And, if it's health related, they'll say, well, what are the symptoms? What are you experiencing? What's your pain? And based on their answers, which is exactly what your survey is doing, it's just doing it without a salesperson involved. It's basically just doing that same function. That's brilliant. That's such a great way to go. You can do you know, in a lot of businesses, you can do surveys that will not only help get them into the right piece and make the right recommendation on autopilot, it could give you a lot of information about what you're potentially missing in your product line.
Right.
You know, Ryan Levesque, he put a program out called the Ask Method.
Yeah, I got that too.
And that's exactly what it is. He says basically what you do is you simply ask your customers what they want and
Yes.
give it to them. And you know that there's so much brilliance to that, and it's not new. It's like that's what's been going on in sales since the beginning of time. You
So
know?
then if I match content to the things that we're talking about in the survey, okay, once all that's done, then I'm pretty much ready to say, okay, things are, and I've plugged in Steelhouse and AdRoll.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, I will have the whole bag there, and I can say, now I'm ready for SEO. Is that right?
Yeah, you know, a great way to go with the surveys is to have, you know, every survey can have different values, and those values can basically come up with an equation, and each equation can be equivalent to a landing page. So it's almost like they're going to take the test or the survey, and they're going to score themselves, and based on the score could give them a link to the recommendation that this, based on your criteria, this is our recommendation for you, and then they click the link and they go to that landing page.
So is the landing page a choice of learn more? And you, and
No, the landing page would be based on their criteria of them telling you what they want, and this is your recommendation.
So a product.
A product, yes, product, service, whatever it is that you're recommending for them. If it's a learn more, or maybe it's taking them to a deeper type of questionnaire, that's fine too, as long as it's geared toward getting them an answer.
Sure.
You know, like they go in and they say, I'm experiencing this, this, and this, and your criteria says, well, that's product XYZ. So here's a link to it. Here's our recommendation based on what you're experiencing that could help you eliminate the, you know, the ABCs of what you're experiencing and get you to where you want to go. And then you describe the desired outcome of where they want to be. And that is such an easy thing to do, but nobody does it. And that's exactly what you would do as a person in the real world. People buy from people. So if you can replicate a person online, that's how you can automate your income.
Okay.
That's the exact process. It's figure out what works in the real world, figure out the psychology of the sale, and then replicate that. You know, if the psychology of the sale is letting them spill their guts so you can determine what they need and then make a recommendation on that, then replicate that on the site. Let them do just that.
Okay.
So cool stuff. Yeah, surveys are great. Tests are great. Take the quiz, make it a quiz, interact with them. The more that you can get them interacting with you, the better chance that you'll have of a sale, because those are all, remember the micro commitment thing. Getting them to make micro commitments, the more they'll interact with you, the better chance that you'll have of them making a sale when you do make that recommendation.
Okay.
All right. Anything else before we wrap up? Again, you know, you guys are bringing great content onto these calls. I want to thank everybody, you know, for that, and really applaud you guys, because I get on here, I don't know what to talk about. I really don't know what you guys need. So by you telling me exactly what you need, I can take this call and take it anywhere you want to go and make it incredibly valuable, as I feel that these are. I think these calls are more and more valuable the more you guys dig into your needs. So keep the questions coming. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap up for today, and we will see you all next week. Have a great week, and see you then.